Hey folks, it's me, Chris, and I wanted to take a few seconds of your time to talk about this awesome new opportunity that we've been presented with for all of our lovely listeners. We can now offer you all a 1-month free trial from Audible.com, allowing you full access to a vast library of audiobooks to choose from. As I mentioned earlier, the trial is completely free, and all you have to do is visit audibletrial.com/GHS and follow the instructions to sign up for a free membership today. We hope you guys enjoy Audible just as much as we do, and thanks for your time. All right, cool. Well, we're going to go ahead and go into our second segment. I know it's weird. I usually say our wrap-up, but this is our second part of the show. So it's our topic of the week. Not our main segment. For the topic of the week, this is actually a perfect segue from our nerd news we just did. But so this is something that I know a lot of people are talking about, and it's a very touchy subject, but it's also a little bit real at the same time. But basically, Adam and I wanted to talk about superhero movies and its direction in the film industry. And what I'm referring to is, in case you haven't noticed, gentle listener, there's been a lot of fucking superhero movies getting made. There's been like a boom in popularity. And look, I mean, there was a boom back in, as far as I remember, before X-Men, and it's funny because we were just talking about that, before the year 2000, superhero movies were actually quite, it was like every now and then they'd come out. Like, you would get a Blade, and you were like, yeah, fuck yeah, Blade. You would get a Batman, a Superman, something like that. But for the most part, it was very, vague, and it wasn't whatever. And then in 2000, X-Men came out, and everyone's like, we gotta fucking go find a property to buy. And, all of a sudden, all these other characters were made. Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Daredevil, The Punisher. I mean, mainly Marvel, to be quite frank, but a lot of movies came out. But still, around even then, there's like little gaps, There's still other movies being made and stuff like that. But now, with the MCU and with DC trying to do their own DC universe and stuff like that, there's like a lot of films that have been coming out, like superhero films. And, some people feel that this is really weighing down the film industry. In other words, because there are so many superhero movies come out and they do very well financially, they make their money back, and actors are flocking to do them and to get in on that piece of the pie, a lot of other movies are taking a backseat. Like, there is no more rom-coms or action, or like, if there are, they're not getting a lot of attention. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't want to yap on too much because I've already talked quite a bit, but I will say one thing before I turn it over to Adnan and get his thoughts on it. But I saw this documentary. I spoke about it on a Talk Nerd to Me segment, The Death of Superman Lives. And there was a storyboard artist that they spoke to, and he was the most frank speaker I've seen in quite some time. He basically said that the film industry is shit, and this is his quotes, not that I agree with this, but he was saying the film industry is shit. All they make are superhero movies. All these poor actors are flocking to them because they need work. That's the only thing that's out there, so they're going to do them. And that they're treating these films as disposable things, as McDonald's or something, like something that you just eat and you don't even think about anymore. And that, and then he went on to say, like, why can't you make like an anti-hero film or like a noir film or something like that? And then there's a very interesting quote. He said, like, for example, I like ice cream, but I don't want to eat ice cream every day. And superhero films are ice cream, and we're killing ourselves by eating this every time. That's what he said. I don't know, and I thought it was
I couldn't agree any more with that.
Yeah.
I don't agree any.
Oh, you don't? You do agree, or you don't agree?
No, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. Dude, I've been yapping on so much. What's your opinion on this and like the way the industry is and whatnot?
No, I agree with that comment completely. I think the industry has become too saturated with superhero movies, and it'll burn itself out itself. I think that's the main thing. But they're just going to keep doing it, and they realise that the appeal goes down. Because it's just so... Like, when I look at cinema things, like, there's always that one occasional movie that pops up, and it's all superheroes. And I'm like, yeah, it's one of those, moments where people want to go watch shit like that. But I'm like, I would not go... I haven't been to the cinema in such a long time because of stuff like that. Because I don't want to watch Avengers Age of Ultron. I don't want to watch this. It's the same because for me, superhero movies are just cliches. They're all cliches. I can enjoy watching one, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's going to be repeated, repeat story of almost the same thing, and then like just the same characters. Yeah, there's new characters coming in, but again, not much of a change. But I think with the direction it's taking, it's going in its phases as it is. Like, well, ironically enough, with the Marvel phases and stuff, but it will burn itself out. Like, it's as simple as that. We're going to get to that point where it does, and I think it's going to be a good, refreshing new take for the industry as well, especially from like my perspective.
Yeah, I think, I mean, sadly, I say sadly because, you don't want a good thing to die out, but at the same time, you want it to happen over the course of, like, I'll give you an example. Like, when Marvel first started the MCU, and when they had Phase 1, you had, in 2008, you had Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk, right? Like, 2 films set in the same universe. It was really cool. We're like, oh, shit, look, Stark Industries and The Incredible Hulk. That's awesome. Oh, shit, it's Tony Stark at the end of the movie. Like, that was really cool. But then, they took a year off. It took 2 years until Iron Man 2 came out. And we're like, oh, sweet, Iron Man 2. And then that was it. There's nothing else that year. And then next year, Thor and this other film, Captain America, came out. And you're like, oh, that's cool. They're introducing more characters. And I think we all were okay with that because all the new movies were introductions. And we all knew it was building up to the Avengers. But then after the Avengers, I think that's where shit started getting weird. Because then in 2013, you had Iron Man 3 and Thor, the second Thor movie. And I actually thought both of those films were quite bad. And then after that, in 2014, you had Guardians. So, your faith in superhero films was restored. You're like, sweet, Guardians of the Galaxy. And, the second Captain America movie came out, which was exquisite. But I think what they're doing now is it's almost like a Trojan horse. They're using a superhero like name or image or whatever to mask what kind of a film it is. So in other words, The Winter Soldier is a thriller. That's a fucking thriller. Go back and see that movie. It's a thriller. Yeah. You go back and you see movies from the 90s. There's so many thrillers that released in the 90s. It's the same shit, except it has superhero characters, situations, and it's all part of a major thing. And I think that takes away from people. It's almost like a cop-out, because why does it have to be like that? But at the same time, if you strip it away at its core, it's what we want. It's variety. But I think that's the problem. I don't think the general public gets that. And on top of that, you do have a dude in tights at the end of the day, and, running around and shit. So that's the bummer. It's like we talked about Assassin's Creed. Like, I got burned out from it, man. Like last year, I got super burned out by Assassin's Creed. I have no interest in the game that comes out later this month I'm sad about that. I felt like I was in an abusive relationship, and I tried to give it so many chances, and I just didn't want to. You know what I mean? Like it was very sad. But I let it go, and I think it's going to happen, dude. I agree with you. I think that eventually people are going to be like, "Oh God, fucking Avengers 4, fuck off." It's not going to be special anymore. It's just going to be like a continuation of the same thing. And dude, I'll be honest, I'm kind of afraid the same thing's going to happen with Star Wars, because I mean, Disney's saying like, "Oh, a new movie every year." I'm like, I was cool with a sequel trilogy every other year. That's fine with me. In fact, that getting a sequel trilogy every other year is more than Lucasfilm ever did. Because remember the prequels? It took 3 years in between each movie to get a new one. 3 fucking years, man. It took 9 years for that trilogy to get out, to be made. This trilogy, the entire trilogy, will be filmed in like 4 years. Like, that's insanity, Like, compare that to 10 years ago. So I'm afraid of that as a Star Wars fan, that, we're going to get to the point where it's like, I don't give a shit about what Vader's bad day on the Death Star was. I don't need a movie about that. Fuck, Like, I don't want to know about that. And I just hope that people wise up and they give breaks, man. Leave time to, like the guy said, we don't have to eat ice cream every time. You got to keep yourself healthy and lay off a while. But yeah, that's kind of like my take on it, which I think we're seeing eye to eye with it. But I'll be damned if I don't eat it up. I mean, I do because I like ice cream.